When I turn my feelings on, I turn my feelings on inside. Feel like I'm gonna ignite. I saw them stars go off. I saw them stars go off at night. And they're looking all right.
God, every week I pray that I know it. And
And it was all right.
I chose this one because the theme feels like it would go with today's topic a bit.
Big Star.
No.
Wow.
Porn star. That's not a band.
Is that a band?
I'm just, I was just playing association games.
Oh.
This is a band, again from Texas. 2 weeks in a row I've chosen.
What is
something
with
from
Texas?
I know. What's up with Texas? No, this band's from Austin, Texas. Arguably one of the biggest bands from Austin.
Oh, no.
The Impossibles.
No. Arguably. I said arguably. Not biggest on this show. Biggest in the hearts of minds of...
There's a lot of bands from Austin.
I feel like they would be categorized as indie, but you might...
The Arcade Fire?
They're from Austin,
they're
Ontario.
They're from Canada. That's right.
Yeah.
No, but Win Butler, I think, is from Austin, Texas. I think
he's not Canadian.
I think the lady, what's her name, Maureen or something.
Breaking news.
I think she is from Canada. I thought he was from Austin. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
And they're named after a common household item.
Toilet brush.
The toasters.
No.
Microwave.
Right, this is going off the rails. The band is Spoon, and the song is "I Turn My Camera On" from the 2005 album "Gimme Fiction." Gimme Fiction.
Oh, yeah, Gimme Fiction.
Red Riding Hood. Image.
I need like musical context. I need like a little beat or something.
Well, sorry, man, we can't afford that, which is why you will hear this song on the companion playlist.
So the connection here was turning your camera on.
Yes.
Adult films. Okay.
Loose connection, but I feel like it's there. I wasn't too far off base. So let's jump on into that. Welcome to Rabbit Fighters. I'm still Joshua.
Yeah, I'm still Brian.
I'm Greg, aka Buck Swope.
Well,
I tried not to tumble into the porn name.
It's tough.
I just want to open a stereo store with really nice hi-fi. Is that so wrong?
And play country?
High fidelity.
A cowboy who likes high fidelity.
Do you hear the high fidelity of this microphone?
You gotta get the bass. You
need the bass.
If you want the bass, you gotta. If
you want to do the thing that it's gonna do, you need the bass. It was the 1970s when disco was king. Clothes were synthetic, and America ran on that sweet, sweet cocaine. It is against this setting that director/auteur Paul Thomas Anderson framed his second feature-length film, the critically acclaimed Boogie Nights. Julianne Moore and Burt Reynolds both received Oscar nods for their supporting roles, as well as excellent performances from Luis Guzman, Don Cheadle, Heather Graham, William H. Macy, Philip Seymour Hoffman, rest in peace, John C. Reilly, Thomas Jane, Melora Walters, and several actual adult film stars. And of course, a breakout performance by Mark Wahlberg, who prior to this was probably best known as the brother of New Kids on the Block heartthrob and current burger mogul Donnie Wahlberg. That's a little known fact that he's related to the much more famous Donnie Wahlberg.
Donnie burgers? Is that like an old Irish thing, like a Donnybrook, Donnie Burger?
No, they have
they're both in business together.
Wahlburgers?
Yeah, they have like a smash burger type
that just sounds
franchise.
Made up. Yep. That just sounds like what someone would
burger
joke
moguls
about.
Also, I would arguably say that
bad joke.
Mark Wahlberg is far more famous than his brother Donnie. I mean, Mark and the Funky Bunch?
Way more.
Therein lies the joke, guys.
You're serious.
Right over
okay.
I mean,
way up there.
Yeah, I mean, Donnie was the weird guy who gets killed in The Sixth Sense. So,
absolutely.
He's got that
spoilers
going for him.
Oh, I didn't realize that was a joke. I thought you were dead serious. Yeah. That's how good of an actor you are.
I did play it really straight, so maybe Paul Thomas Anderson will come calling after he listens to this. All right. Well, this film explores the nitty and extremely gritty world of adult film stars as they each attempt to find love, affection, home, and dignity, all while trying to navigate the seedy lifestyles associated with life in the skin flick biz. Now, I had never seen this before now, which is why I made it on the list. And at Greg's behest, that wrong has been righted. And I know, Brian, you're a big P.T. Anderson fan. So let's get down to it. Let's talk ding-dongs and hoo-haws, friends.
So itty bitty gritty committee.
So, Greg, let me open it up and ask you this: how much you squat?
It's such a good scene.
So, why this one? Why did this make it on the list? So,
yeah, because I was looking through. I was like, we do a lot of '80s movies, and I was like, what? There are some awesome movies in the '90s, and beyond. And I looked up, like a list of best '90s movies, and I just grabbed maybe 6 from there. I was like, yep, I would love to see that again. Love to see that again. And most of these, I'm not one of those people that sees movies again and again. Especially my wife, like, hates watching movies more than once. She's like, we saw it. I'm like, 20 years ago we saw The Matrix. She's like, yeah, but we already saw it. Like, we
what happens
once again, like ever again.
Yeah. Neo becomes emperor of the known universe and rides a sandworm.
Yeah, so a lot of these movies, I'll see them the first time and I'll be like, that was so good, and then just like never see it again. And so I was like, man, I'd like to see LA Confidential again, or Magnolia, or Boogie Nights. So I was going through the list and being like, yeah, these are great. And then it has to be like, have you seen it or not? If all 3 of us have seen it, we can't do it.
And if those stars align.
Yeah, you hadn't seen Boogie. I almost picked Magnolia by the same guy, P.T. Anderson, because I mean, arguably I might like it better than Boogie Nights, but again, I hadn't seen either of them since they came out. So I was like, I know Brian likes Boogie Nights. I'm tired of shitty movies. Like
Junior.
They're fun to crap on, but they're exhausting to watch sometimes. We're just like, I don't want to watch this fucking movie. So yeah, it was breaking the dam and letting good movies out.
Yeah, I wouldn't say this was a delight to watch by any stretch of the imagination, but it was. It's definitely a better film than what we've been watching of late.
Surely you jest. Yeah,
I disagree. I think it was a joy to watch.
A joy.
Yes,
a joy.
You like seeing Mark Wahlberg get the shit kicked out of him in a parking lot?
It's just
some people would like to see Mark Wahlberg get the shit kicked out of him in the parking lot.
I think it's just a really great ensemble cast and a story that is just really well done. I enjoy it, and I think, and we'll probably talk about it more. I think it's funnier than it's. It kind of gives like dark comedy vibes to me. I'm not like in the traditional sense, but the more I watch it, the more I catch little things that I think are just really funny, and it's more a consequence of just really good acting, like Philip Seymour Hoffman, just like the little subtleties that are in the movie that I catch every time that I kind of forget about, and I just think it's just a very well done film, and to get that large of an ensemble cast, and there's really no weak link in it in terms of actors. And everyone, I think maybe if I'll touch on a little bit,
except for maybe the actual adult film stars.
Oh, it's true. Yeah, they did have a couple actual
here and there, but they're like furniture. They're not really front and center. They're more like background stuff.
The cameo, they technically cameos. I don't know. I only know the one.
Like Bill Macy's wife is a
porn that's the one I know of. Who's the other?
I think I had read that the judge
was a porn star.
The judge was also an adult film star.
Okay.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
I mean, it's based off of a biography, right? John Holmes.
John
loosely,
Holmes,
yeah,
super stud. But I mean, we should probably say what the movie is about.
Indeed,
if we can.
Sure.
Summarize it in brief. Brian, what do you want to take a crack at that?
I mean, I think the story in and of itself is not super complicated, but the way they kind of approach it is that there's a young 17-year-old high school boy named Eddie.
Automatically red flags.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know,
right off the get-go.
Yeah, so late 70s, and then the story kind of kicks off with, Jack Horner, who is played by Burt Reynolds, is granted the whole thing falls under the umbrella of like the golden age of porn, right? The late 70s where pornographic films are still made on film, right? And there's believe there to be an art to it, and they're played in theaters and they're not played on VHS tapes, right? So they're actors, and so that's kind of the perspective of it. Is Burt Reynolds' character Jack Horner is the director of adult films. Julianne Moore is his girlfriend, I think. They never really identify what that relationship
his girl, he calls her,
it's his girl,
my girl,
So the kind of the main characters are Jack and Amber, who is his girl.
It seems to be like a kind of open relationship.
Yeah, it's a Hefner-esque relationship.
Yeah, and there's like a young starlet named Roller Girl who's played by Heather Graham. So, anyways, cut to the intro. The beginning of the film where Eddie is a busboy at one of the friends of Jack's disco clubs. He catches eyes with him and makes some sort of assuming connection that he's could be somebody in porn. I don't really, that whole connection is very odd. So Jack kind of pursues Eddie later on. He sends Roller Girl back there in the subsequent scenes to like investigate Eddie.
I didn't get that connection that she was sent back there on a mission.
Yeah, she was sent back there to test out the merchandise. Yeah.
Yeah, to validate.
Yeah, like
the
can he perform, and is his dick really big?
So then finally they persuade Eddie after whatever to come meet Jack, and kind of reels him in with the thoughts of fame and stardom, and Eddie's kind of not like a down and out kid, but he's a bit of a dreamer. So when he wants to make something of himself, Jack kind of feeds into that and pulls him into this world of adult films, and it kind of kicks off from there to where he changes his name from Eddie to Dirk Diggler, and they start going down the path of making films, and it spins off into kind of this family of people that, and kind of the side stories that's taking place in the late 70s and it eventually rolls into the 80s. And I think that's a good start, getting the story going. And it's kind of a cautionary tale of what happens with materialism and excess and drugs and fame and money and that kind of thing. So, it starts off a little more innocent, and then it gets very dark on the back end to where it's going.
As innocent as one could be.
Well, innocent in that like they're energetic and bright and naive and whatever.
Yeah.
They have all these like dreams and ideals, and eventually it kind of all goes to shit. Like at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because like they idealize the 70s, and the 70s are like, I don't think the filmmaker is idealizing the 70s, but the story shows an idealized version of the 70s through the lens of the porn industry, where like everything's gravy, man. There's money to be had. There are rich dudes who just bankroll you. You got blow, you got chicks, you got like pool parties, you got fast cars. Nobody wears condoms. There's no HIV, there's no AIDS. Just generally in the porn industry, it's like the salad days, whereas, much of the rest of the country views the 70s as like a disastrous Nixon era, full of violence and protest and, continuing wars, and America falling apart at the seams. But for the porn industry, it was like, oh, those are the days. And I feel like they make a clean break in the narrative when they have Lil Bill kill his wife and her, lover of the day, and then himself on New Year's Eve when they're going into 1980. And it's a very clear choice to be like, on the last day of the 70s, with seconds to go, basically when they say Happy New Year, he shoots his wife and the guy and himself, and you see him blow his brains out on the friggin' wall, which is extremely graphic and disturbing as hell. And apparently in the original cut, you see him murder the two of them up close too. And they said,
oh, really?
Yeah, even with this movie, they said that was too disturbing. They had to cut it.
Oh, that makes sense
for this movie.
No, I think I like the way it was filmed in the final. They were shown in the final, like that whole long scene where it's a single shot where he walks in, he sees what's going on, he makes the long slow walk back to his car,
and you know what he's gonna do.
Yeah, you totally like. It reaches in, of course, he's pulling out a gun, and there's only one way this ends. There's only one way, but the whole way it unfolds with you hear everybody in the back. enjoying the New Year's festivities, and then he just goes in and you hear the shots and people scream, and then he just walks out and just has this like look on his face of like, well, and then
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
William H. Macy was, although he was only in it for like the first half. Just a fantastic job. Like
one little beautiful detail I like about that scene, or that scene, is that he locks his car after he gets the gun. I thought that was
I didn't even notice that either. Yeah,
funny little quirk is that he takes the gun out, closes the door, takes his keys out, locks the door, then walks away with the gun. It's just good. Like, it's just kind of a nice little like, you know, weird thing that I noticed. I was like, that's kind of.
It makes you wonder whether he thinks he's going to kill himself at that moment. Yeah, you know he's going to kill them. You know he's going to kill his wife and the guy. But yeah, that detail makes me wonder, because I was like, oh, he knew he's going to do the whole thing when he started for the car. But that makes me wonder if he just did it and then was like, oh yeah, now I have to do this. Because what happens now, you know, I go to jail forever.
Yeah, Little Bill's plight.
I in some ways I feel like it's an unearned dramatic moment, because they play his wife's infidelities for laughs the whole time, you know.
Yeah.
She's just, I mean, it's not even like he keeps catching her and she's like, oh my God, I'll never do it again. Yeah. Like he opens the door and she's getting boned by some guy on his bed and she's like, shut the door. I'm getting fucked over here. You know, and he's like, but you're my wife. And the guy's like, who's this clown? Get him out of get him out of here. And it happens again and again. They have like that scene where she's getting fucked in the driveway and there's like a bunch of people like crowded around watching. And he's just like,
so good.
But you're my wife. Jeez. Well, I guess let's talk about cinematography in the doorway.
Yeah, so all on my mind here.
Like they don't play, they play it for laughs, and then they suddenly make it this, you know, this horror moment, you know, right before the 80s kick in. So I don't know. In some ways, I really feel like they didn't earn that moment.
Yeah,
but it's definitely it was put in there like a little bomb to blow up the world that you've come to know at that point in the movie.
I think that was effective.
Definitely.
When you put it like this, I do like something that crossed my mind during this whole thing is the people who are portraying kids who are in high school, notwithstanding. This does seem like, you know, with whole adult films, like this whole argument of consenting adults will do whatever they want, and this film's like sort of testament to that sort of lifestyle. But the relationship between Little John or Little Bill and his wife is like unlike any other relationship portrayed in the movie, because they're obviously not on the same terms. They did not agree. They go into this marriage with the same set of expectations.
Yeah.
And it's like, at what point did Bill just not like, why don't you just file for divorce? Like how did it come to this? Like,
why did you marry her at all?
At all.
Like,
it makes no sense.
Yeah.
I like that conversation that they have where he is like, I got shit on my mind. And they're trying to have a conversation about the film shoot coming up. And so I think at its core, this is kind of like an industry film. Like it's about the minutia, the day-to-day behind, and it just so happens to be about the adult film industry. And so there's all these characters that they're just in the biz. Like they're a key grip, or they do handle the mic, and then they just like are in and out of the storyline because they all just they moved to Hollywood because they probably had dreams of being in the film industry, and this is where they ended up.
It's another job.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I love that about it, because I think a lesser film or maybe a lesser director would have really made the focus the sex, the intercourse, the coitus.
Yeah.
But really, this is it's ultimately about everything else but that, which I appreciate.
I think it's interesting that, you know, the character development, or even this, it just parallels Hollywood, right? It's just like the subterranean, you know, where the same problems you have for high profile like Hollywood starlets and things like that are happening the same. You know, Dirk thinks he's a star and he gets money and he finds drugs, and it sort of parallels Hollywood just in a completely, you know, opposite direction, but the problems are still the same.
It's like Bull Durham. It's like the AA version of Hollywood.
But it's not like it's a complete waste of whatever. I mean, it's clearly there was money in this, right? I mean, Dirk, or, you know, his character gets a bunch of money, buys a house. He has all this nice stuff, like
wardrobe that's arranged by color. And
it's, oh my God, his commentary walking around his house is the
oh my God.
best.
Yeah. There's the problem with this movie. I want to break in for a second and just acknowledge the problem of talking about this movie. It's just so character based, and the plot is really kind of secondary to the characters and how they interact and bounce off each other.
I think it's tied together with, the theme, right? I feel like the big theme is family, right? All these people are sort of orphaned, but Jack as the director, even his home, right? He allows them to stay there, and it kind of is the focal point for the entire film, even for the porn, right? It's shot in the basement of Jack's house, and they're always at his pool and his kitchen. And
and his girl, calls herself the mom. She's like, I'm your mom.
Yeah, she's basically the mom.
Are you my mom? Are you my mom? Are you mom?
So they're taking in all these misfit toys, and giving them a place to live and console them. And, that's kind of the big theme, but it's only one of, I think there's a whole lot of things going on, but that's kind of what it plays off of, is this really super dysfunctional porn family. But there is like a sense of like love there, right?
Yeah.
Like they do all care about each other, but they're just not bad people, but it's just.
Yeah. I mean, some of them are given like a real solid personality, like Buck Swope, like the John Cheadle character.
Yeah.
I mean, he just wants to be a regular guy who has a stereo store, like he doesn't do drugs. He's not running around screwing everybody. He comes across, he's not treating people badly. He's just,
he's sweet. He's cornball.
Yeah. He just wants what he likes what he likes. He likes dressing like a cowboy. He likes hi-fi.
Yeah.
It's not just a routine for him. Like that's what he wants to do.
I think that's why the film works so well, is that you have all these characters who are seemingly in a very like undignified business.
Yeah.
And they're all seeking not all, but most of them are seeking some level of dignity. Yeah. And
or validation, and
carving that out of whatever the future may hold. There's a few characters that are, just bad to the bone from the beginning and go all the way to the end. But for the most part, most of the characters that P.T. Anderson like focuses on have that trait where they don't, they're not gonna. What does John C. Reilly's character say at one point? It's like, you can't bone forever.
Yeah.
I know that. I'm gonna be a magician. So.
He's so good in this, man. He's good in everything, but really specifically in this, I guess to focus things a little, I guess, like who are some of your top characters? Like if you have a top 3 or 4 or 2 or whatever, like who did you like in this?
I was originally going to say John C. Reilly, and as I was watching it, I was like, I think like that he comes across as like, he's very, very enjoyable. But when of all the characters, I think, or of all the actors, I think I've probably seen the most movies with him in it out of anybody.
Yeah.
And I was like, putting that in context, I don't know that he was playing too much of a different character in this one than he does in, like, say, Step Brothers. Pretty much just John C. Reilly, which I enjoy, but that took it down, I think, a level for me. But I think my favorite character out of all of them is Julianne Moore. I think she definitely deserved the Oscar nod for this, and I think particularly because adult film stars aren't known for being the best actors, and she is clearly a very, very good actor who in this role played being a bad actor really well. And that takes just a ton of talent to just, lose all that training that you've had and boil it down to just, no, I'm like it'd be like if I was acting, I'd be terrible. So I think
so Julianne Moore.
Julianne Moore definitely.
Yeah. I think 3 standout performances in this from my perspective. Philip Seymour Hoffman as Scotty is kind of this like the heart of this thing in a very subtle way. Like he's just so lost and like a puppy, and he's in love with Dirk, and he just wants to fit in, and he plays that character of just like so well, and not cringy, but he's just so uncomfortable all the time, and he just wants to be liked. And like, I think he's so great at that.
Yeah.
I think
he's like a tragic figure of time and place, like in a later decade, he could just be gay and he could just find somebody, but he's just like, I'm trying to be tough and stuff and like trying to be one of the dudes and everything. And he's just not.
Yeah. He's like walking around mimicking Dirk, wearing trying to wear the same. He likes his car. He just wants to be liked and just wants to be fit in. Just rounding out. Yeah. Philip Seymour Hoffman's great. I think Burt Reynolds is perfectly cast as Jack. I think he just plays that character amazing. Like it just like would not strike me if that was him as a real portrait. Like he plays it as, I like that he, he's like everyone else in this film. Like he has a vision. Like he wants to be an artist. Like he thinks that this is like an art form, and he's trying to make a thing that, he says in the film, like this is gonna be the one they remember me by. Like he sees it as a legitimate movie making and as an art, which is in a complete 100% is kind of sad. But in his head, even when the tide turns into the 80s and things move away from making adult films and having them in theaters and, it switching to the VHS world, like he's still a holdout. He's like, no, I'll never do that. Like, it's not an art.
But then he dumps it. He does beta. Like after the Colonel gets arrested, he switches to beta.
Yeah. I think you have to, I think Mark Wahlberg is excellently cast in this as well. I mean, he plays like sort of a wide-eyed, naive, I don't know who else would, I'm sure there's other people who could. I did read that, P.T. Anderson originally wanted Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, and he wanted to do it, but he couldn't because he was in Titanic.
Yeah, he was doing Titanic. So he recommended Mark Wahlberg from was it the Basketball Diaries or something like that?
I don't know how he knew Mark Wahlberg. It probably was the Basketball Diaries because they both did that together.
And he's like, hey, check out Mark Wahlberg for this. And so I'm pretty sure Mark Wahlberg was hesitant because it wasn't porn. But
wait, I thought this was Mark Wahlberg's first movie, actually.
No, he was in a couple things before this, but this was his big break. Yeah. This is definitely his big break. Yeah. So, Buck, what's your favorite character?
Yeah, I mean, it's like Burt Reynolds and Julianne Moore got Academy Award nominations for their characters, but like, it's not even fucking close as to who is the best actor in this movie, and it's fucking Mark Wahlberg by a country mile. Yeah, like starting out as the kid, the 17-year-old kid, and like. He has this like goldfish brained character where you can see how he sees the world. He has these really clear moments, like a goldfish would be like, oh, look, food flakes. I'm going for him, like,
you're trying to say that he's donkey brained.
He's yeah. So like, it's just so hard to fucking play that. Oh my God. It's almost impossible without being a caricature. One of the funniest scenes I've ever seen in a movie is when he's walking Julianne Moore through his fucking house, like his new place.
Oh my God.
Oh God. Just everything is just gold in that. He's got the painting of himself on the fucking wall. Just looks like an idiot painted it. And he's like, yeah, how'd you think of he's like, yeah, you see my initials in the curtains? You bring them together as DD. It's, she's like, oh, how'd you think about that? She's like humoring him the whole time. He's like, I just thought of my name, and then like the idea came to me. That's such a funny thing to say.
He shows her his he builds a dojo for himself.
He does the fucking karate in the mirror and shit. Like it's an incredible fucking creation, man. And then I think Burt Reynolds is good, but like, maybe it's just because he got nominated for an Academy Award and stuff. But I was like, it didn't deserve that. Like, it wasn't that fucking good.
I don't know if he deserved that. I just thought he portrayed a very good.
I find his connection to the movie more fascinating than his actual character. Like all the background information about him.
Yeah, we're
turning it down like 7 times.
Almost getting into a
fist. Yeah, getting in a fist fight with him. Which I thought the scene with Mark Wahlberg and Burt Reynolds was just a crazy echoing. That happened in real life, but it was Burt Reynolds and P.T. Anderson throwing punches at each other. Just the fact that he like tried to distance himself from it, didn't do any press with it. It's just like,
and then he got nominated and he's like, oh yeah, it's a swell pick. I mean, he seems like an asshole to me, fucking Burt Reynolds. And like all the stories I heard about him where he's like, oh yeah, this kid thought he was the hot shit making this movie. And I told him like, that scene that you said was so good, it's been done 5 times, and I named the movies. That fuck you. It's this kid's second movie, and like this guy had no one knocking on his door when this movie got made.
Yeah.
That's why he made it, because like it's like
His agent was like, "You haven't gotten a good offer in a very long
nothing,
time."
man. Just do the movie. You got no one knocking on your door. So he's like, fine, I'll rage do the movie. And you're like, that's the shittiest way to do something.
William H. Macy too. Like his agent told him, "Don't do the movie."
Yeah.
I didn't, and like he saw the script and was like, "I have to do this movie."
And that's the thing. That's the thing that you see again and again and again. And this is like my other favorite character in a movie is the script. I've looked at all the trivia about this movie, and again and again and again, they're like, I was told not to do it. I was warned not to do it. I didn't want to do it. And then I read the script, and the script is fucking great. And that's the best way to attract top people to a movie that has a small budget.
Like, I don't think we said it yet, but P.T. Anderson did get an Oscar nod for the writing as well. In addition,
he should, man. Yeah, it's really good.
I mean, did you read the Burt Reynolds bit where he wanted his character to have an Irish accent?
Yeah, I saw that. Like, he did it for one day.
Terrible.
What an idiot. Oh my God.
We're going to direct some porn.
I want you to take your pants off and show me your willy. I'm going to need a hard 8 out of you. 8 to 12 anyway. Or I won't be hiring you.
Just remembering that scene in Brazil with the little girl. It's like, I'm not going to see you, Willie.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'm sending Roller Girl in to check out your bagpipes.
All right, take out your shillelagh. It's time to shoot the film.
Take it back. I think Burt Reynolds doing an Irish accent
would have been so good.
Might have worked. Okay, so what didn't work for you guys with the film? So obviously we talked about the good actors who you like the most, but what didn't work?
I feel like and I noticed it, watching it all these years later. Sometimes when I see movies in the theater, the big experience of it just blinds me to some of the flaws, and you're like, you just come out being like, it was amazing, it was so great, and there was nothing wrong with it, or you don't notice as much. This time around, I watched it on a TV, and there are a bunch of unearned dramatic scenes which I think are kind of stupid. One being when Dirk gets kicked out of his house and he just comes home late, and his mom's like, "Are you fucking that girl? That little tramp in the neighborhood? I know what you're doing." And the dad just sitting in the next room being like, "Well, what are you gonna do?" And then she just goes ape shit and like rips his posters down and kicks him out of the house. And like, you've seen like 1 28-second scene with his parents before that, and you're just like, the fuck is going on? Like,
yeah,
why is she going bananas? Like, there's no like lead up to this. And he's just like, "What are you doing?" And you're like, "Yeah, what are you doing? You're fucking crazy." And then he just leaves. It's just a dumb way to force him out of the house into the arms of Burt Reynolds' character. Like, they could have done it more elegantly than that. I think the scene where,
I kind of liked it, but
that scene where Dirk gets beat up by the guys who hate gays, but they probably are gay, but who the hell cares because they beat him up. That one was like, this is dumb. This just, anything else could happen to this guy than this weird like gay bashing scene from like after school special or something.
Yeah, were they tracking him? Were they like following him? Like,
I don't know what the fuck.
How did that even come?
It was just like dumb. He just have him get beat up some other way. And then in the same time, and it's supposed to be this big like, we have this amazing crisscrossing scene of like Roller Girl meets that kid from high school in the limousine, and they're gonna have like the first pick up and fuck movie ever made or something, where you just pick up someone off the street and he has sex with a girl in the car and we film it. And he's like, "Hey, didn't you go to school with me?" Which is a good little like angle on it where, it makes it uncomfortable. But like, they just then go apeshit on him and kick the shit out of him. And he's like, going to a university. He's in a fraternity. He's obviously like this rich kid from a wealthy family and stuff. And they like beat the piss out of him. Roller Girl stomps in his face with roller skates, like probably would have killed him. And like nothing happens. You know, you're like, you would fucking all go to jail. Like this guy is going to have a family that gives a shit about him, that has lawyers and friends with money. You'd all be in fucking jail, you know?
Yeah, I didn't like that there was no follow through there, but I loved the actual scene of her going off on him.
I like that there was, he got mad, but like the setup, they do a lot of stuff. He does a lot of stuff where he wants a dramatic, you know, impact, and he wants a dramatic scene, but he doesn't set it up right, you know, like with Little Bill seeming to have no emotion other than mild annoyance about his wife boning these guys. Then he blows her fucking head off, and you're like, okay. The mom is like, you didn't eat your breakfast and you're not doing your homework. And then she goes ape shit and tears all the stuff out and kicks him out of the house. And like, there are a bunch of scenes where I'm like, you needed a means to an end, but you did the wrong means, and then you slapped on the end, you know?
I respect your opinion, but I think I disagree on the Heather Graham part, where the Roller Girl going off on that. I feel like that was set up pretty well. Like you had in the beginning, her relationship obviously with the person she ends up beating the shit out of, but then there's also like the setup with Julianne Moore, and she's obviously lost and wanting to like take a pottery class, and like they're like getting out of the industry and finding that life, and then she finds herself like back in this very, very sketchy situation with Burt Reynolds driving around trying to find a stranger to film with,
to have sex with.
And then he disrespects her, like he says some terrible things to her, and like that's the catalyst, that's the trigger that brings it all back, all the horrible things she's been through up to that point, and now she's got a focal point in order to like focus her rage. It made sense to me, but
there. And I will say one more thing, like, you know, a good example of like, you know, actions and consequences that are set up well is like when this guy Scotty like tries to lure Dirk out to his stupid, you know, car that he tries to make like Dirk's Corvette, and he has someone paint it with like a roller paint or something because it's sticky, and he's just like trying to make out with Dirk in this car, you know, and like that's been building up for a whole long time, and you see like the progression of the Scotty guy just buzzing closer and closer to his orbit and just like buzzing around him super tight, and then he tries to lure him out there and kiss him. He has this whole plan, obviously, like I got it all planned out on how this car, and it's gonna be amazing. That's one of the ones where when he's in the car, I'm a fucking idiot. I'm a fucking idiot. You know, like that is earned dramatic, you know, outcome where like yes, that scene is earned, and the dramatic output that you wanted. Yeah, it's right there, and Philip Seymour Hoffman kills it too. It's super sad and fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. So Brian, what didn't work for you in this movie?
I had to think a lot about this. What I think, and this is nitpicky because I feel like there's a lot that did work. I feel like the one storyline I didn't particularly even the Don Cheadle characters thing, and kind of his like identity crisis with the cowboy. And then he goes into disco spaceman thing, and I'm like, what? Like, and he's always
Rick James, yeah, totally
yeah, kind of like a Rick James thing, yeah. I mean, in some parts, I think, okay, this makes sense, but his whole wrap up, you know, he's just trying to start a stereo store, and it all comes together because he's in a donut shop and witnesses like this double murder and takes the money, and then he gets the down payment, and it's like, what? There's no real reason for him to be there in a way. Like he, even in the shots where they are filming like adult scenes and stuff, he's not present in any of that. He's just like this guy that's hanging out. Like it's assumed that he is a porn star, but even with all the other actors, like when they're shooting scenes and stuff, they're standing by, they cut to them in films. Even was it Luis Guzman's character? You know, he plays the bartender Rodriguez in one of the movies, you know, or he has a club, like he has a reason for this all to kind of come together. But that's the only thing. And not say that like, I don't think Don Cheadle was good in it. I just felt like it was kind of like you take that character out, I don't know if you lose much. He's just kind of an ancillary character that's floating around these people that I don't know if it's necessary, but it doesn't bother me. I just feel like it's a little bit of a weak link, I feel like, in the story.
I get what you're saying, Brian, about Don Cheadle's character, Buck's character, and the arc there. And I agree to a certain extent. He is very boring compared to everybody else. But I think the way I was reading his arc is this whole movie kind of shows, the porn industry is a meat grinder, and you have various people going at different stages in their journey through that meat grinder. And Don Cheadle's character, he obviously, his heyday was a little earlier, before the movie started.
Yeah.
And he's on his way out. And so we don't get as much of his arc because he's already got one foot out the door and working on his dreams for like what the next big thing is. But yeah, compared to, Mark Wahlberg's character and some of the others, who else?
Or even conversely, what is his name? The Luis Guzman's character?
Rodriguez is his last name.
Yeah, I know it's about Rodriguez. But
he wants in.
He wants in.
Yeah,
he just keeps asking for an opportunity. Like, put me in a film, put me in a film. And his reason is almost completely opposite, that he wants to, show that he's become something.
He wants people back home to see him in a porn film and be like, what? He's with pretty ladies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even though he's already successful in that he has like a successful nightclub.
I know, that should be like more than enough.
You've already made it.
Yeah, totally. Like way more than almost anyone in America will make it. You own a giant club that's successful.
Yeah, but that speaks to Brian's comment that they're delusional.
Yeah, totally.
And that's what makes him so sad. So
what's great is when he finally gets in a movie and they show him at the desk that he's at, and he's like looking at the camera kind of, and he's all like, yes, ma'am.
He's just serving drinks.
He's like,
you already do that for a living.
I know.
He's the bartender?
Yeah. It's like, it just validates their decision to not want him in the movies in the first place. He's totally. Like, yep, he sucks. But whatever, he's important enough.
Another note on Buck. He is. I can't say Don Cheadle's like the worst thing about me, because he is responsible for the funniest quote in the entire film for me, which is when he's having that conversation with Jesse when he's dressed like Rick James. It was like, I was saying that I love sunsets, but sunrises are better. Exactly.
She's like, I
was the only one who felt that way about sunsets. Oh my God, I laughed so hard. It's such a stupid, cheesy cornball conversation, but they play it so well. Like they're so genuine about this stupid fucking conversation.
But they do wrap up everyone's story, and it is interesting that Dirk and essentially Jack stay in the industry. So he kind of cleans up his act, and he spirals out because he's doing all this drugs and he can't perform anymore. And then I love how he goes like naturally believing that he might have musical talent, and him and John
that's so great.
Cutting an album. Oh man, that is the most beautifully cringe thing ever.
God. And it's, again, this is where you just I just admire the hell out of Mark Wahlberg's performance when he's doing the recording sessions.
Oh man.
And he's just singing and he's just holding the side of to make it work somehow. Cause in his little goldfish brain, he kind of knows that he sounds like shit, kind of a little, but maybe not. Maybe if I hold my ear, it'll sound better.
Yeah, the bass is messing with my vocals.
The bass is messing with my vocals.
The vocals.
Producer's just
no. But John C. Reilly's behind him going, yeah.
It's definitely
the talent wants that, and that's what we're gonna do.
Make it so. They try to wrap everything up nicely in a bow with all the characters. And some work, some don't. Roller Girl goes on, they show her to getting her GED, and then I do like the John C. Reilly's character goes magician
at
a strip club.
The lady comes out and is topless. It's just he's a magician. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's
not doing kid shows.
Kind of doing porn. Yeah.
And Amber's a directing commercials for Don Cheadle's for Bucks hip hop hi-fis, which is awesome.
Yeah, I feel like the only I feel like to me the ending was a little bit of a cop out where it's like everything turns out fine. But I do like them showing the colonel in jail getting like his face smacked because like
Christ.
And that's a tough scene where he's
God damn, dude.
behind the glass with
that
Bruce,
scene,
yeah,
man.
on the phone, the jail phones. You're just like, oh,
Reynolds,
that
yeah.
scene.
God.
And that's where like Joshua was like, I don't think I really enjoyed watching this movie, but like it's
Yep.
one of those scenes where it's so hard to watch, but it's also so
Really
fucking
well acted,
good.
yeah.
Oh my God, it's so skillful in every way. Like the actors are great, the writing is great, the shot is great.
You're like, just tell me you're my friend. Are you my friend? Are you my friend? And he's like,
Oh God.
click.
Oh, but even these people can't deal with the colonel.
So speaking of like, lack of morals and skewed ethics, we haven't really talked about the drug deal gone wrong scene.
man.
Yeah. The one scene that everyone remembers if they remember anything from this movie.
Alfred Molina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And I was watching the whole time and I was like, who the fuck is this guy? I know this guy. I 100% know this guy, but he's just so young. I didn't know it was Alfred Molina because he's just so young in this movie. It's weird.
The very tense drug deal gone bad.
Yeah.
That's a great scene though. Just Alfred Molina coked out. There's some kid in the background lighting firecrackers.
He's Chinese, so he likes firecrackers.
Yes. Yeah, that
Oh,
follows.
okay.
That follows everybody.
That tracks somehow.
I thought I read somewhere or saw somewhere where Mark Wahlberg was like, that scene was pretty intense. Just, having to sit in that thing where he's just like lighting firecrackers the whole time and just
He never stops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it was Alfred Molina had earplugs in so that he wouldn't react to the random explosions of firecrackers, but nobody else did because they wanted to get the real flinches every time it went off, which were all real. I mean, that scene did such a crazy good job. I don't know how you do it otherwise, but a crazy good job of driving up the anxiety of the audience to be like random explosions. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll set everybody on edge that the stakes are real here. Like this is all completely fucked up. Something is going to go down poorly. It was such a good scene. So are there any other topics we want to cover before we go into rating of it?
I will say one thing I brought up to you guys, I think this week we were talking about this, but I think just the subject, it's basically what Greg was saying about the script, right? Like you say, oh, I'm making a film about the porn industry and, you don't look, someone may get turned off to this film or not want to watch it. But, funny enough, like for a movie about the porn industry, there's very little nudity that's even happening. I mean, there's nudity in it, but for what you think it's going to be, it's totally not about, it's like it's a vehicle for like the character actors or whatever it's happening in this story of about these people. But for the most part, it's not just like this seedy porn film. Like, it's just kind of like I said, it's just kind of the vehicle for the story to move through. But I think there was that, what was his P.T. Anderson's thing where it's like, he wanted it to be NC-17 and over 3 hours. And they're like, you can have one of them or something. And he's like, all right, I'll take the R rating and not
2 hours and 36 minutes then.
Yeah. And that's what it was. Like either it can be rated R and then over 3 hours or NC-17 under 3. And he's like, all right, I'll take the R rating and over 3 hours. And then he was under 3 hours anyways. So he came in under the,
they were like, so you have to cut some of the porn scenes. And he was like, you should be able to watch a little bit porn at work.
I'm not in trouble at all. All right. Well, on a grading scale of tip top A+, which is a 1977 competitive orange Corvette Stingray, down to an F-, which is a 1979 Datsun 280ZX. What is this film to you? Where's this fall?
Orange.
Yeah, because it makes it go faster. Like if you want to compete, you got to have the primary.
If you want to, you gotta wait a couple days for the competitive orange to dry though, because it might be a little sticky.
Yeah,
a little tacky.
Adds resistance. Unfortunately.
Shit.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I will give it an A-. I think the script is an A+, and I think the acting is an A+. I think there are flaws in it that I didn't see the first time around. Like I mentioned them before. There are what seems to me like a young writer director's attempts at getting emotional moments that aren't earned. I would add the weird Coen Brothers donut shop murder where you're like, the fuck? Okay, he got the money. Yeah. Like there could have been another way to get the money. But yeah, those things aside, the characters are so great. The lines in this movie are so great. The fucking Mark Wahlberg, man. Like, how did you do that, dude? Like, I've never seen him be that good in anything else either. Like, after this, I mean, I've seen him be good in stuff like Three Kings and shit like that, but like, this is an incredible performance. I still don't know how he did it. That as the center of the movie, that the character is so important. That he's this good is incredible and really carries the movie a lot. Burt Reynolds is good. Julianne Moore is really good. Heather Graham is good. Don Cheadle's good. It's John C. Reilly is always excellent. Philip Seymour Hoffman is excellent. Everyone is good in this movie. But yeah, like Wahlberg is just incredible. So I think flaws aside, this is an A- movie. And if it had been the first movie I had seen this guy do, I would have been like, show me the rest of this guy's career.
For the record, putting Greg down for an A-.
Like we track these things anyway.
I actually am. I'm putting it in the spreadsheet right now.
It's in the spreadsheet.
I have started
You have a
tracking
spreadsheet?
him. I started tracking him.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
I haven't gone back into the early episodes.
Metrics.
About it, but yeah.
I'll go. I think this is a solid A. I think from the very beginning, I think he does a really good job of nailing the era, sort of the vibrance, extravagance, excess. It's flashy, it's gaudy, fun, kind of akin to Dazed and Confused a little bit. I think he does a really good job with, setting the tone for this era and kind of weaving the cautionary tale with these like incredible list of characters that and actors that are portraying them. I think for the most part, it's incredibly. I don't even know if you have a miss in there, like casting wise. Yeah, there's some weaker storylines than others, but for the most part, I think it's just a really fun. Like, I'm not going to use the term joyous to watch this, but I think it's an interesting film in that, like, it's incredibly captivating at all times, even despite the subject matter and kind of what's happening. It's tons of highs, lots of lows. Like, it's just, I think it's just solidly entertaining all the way through. So I think, one thing I will mention, I think the cinematography in this is fantastic. Yeah. Like, I was looking, it's the same guy. He does pretty much all his films. And I was like, okay. Cause like I said earlier, I love There Will Be Blood. I need to rewatch The Master, but he gives the film sort of its vibe throughout it. Even like the use of like color popping of the different scenes and sort of the emotions that are happening, I think is really well done. It's a movie I've seen quite a few times. I really enjoy it. I quote it I quote the Scotty stuff all because I think Philip Seymour Hoffman is just so fantastically like sad in this, and he's just
tragic,
a great,
weird character,
amazing actor, tragic guy. He just wants to be like Dirk and just wants to be cool. So, anyways, yeah, it's a solid A for me. I think even the nitpicky thing I said it's really just like, hey, I got to find something. So this Corvette hits on all cylinders, guys.
It's motoring.
So
we don't know what its price for flight is.
I feel its heat. Joshua.
I'm going to say it's an A. I think it's technically just a fantastic film. I think it's apparent what a skilled director P.T. Anderson is, and the cast. I don't think there's I think one of you said this earlier, but there's not a weak link in the whole thing. Maybe John C. Reilly, but I'm not gonna.
Nah.
I'm not gonna kick him out of bed. I enjoy watching him. He is just a funny, very charming individual. Even if he's playing the same character in everything except for a Tim and Eric episode. But I'm a sucker for a period piece. I will watch almost any movie that takes place in another era, just because I just kind of enjoy the aspect of filmmaking. And this one really pulled no punches. It really did a great job of showing the time in which it's supposed to be taking place. I think, like any good art, it makes you feel something. And I think I did comment that after I watched it, I was like, I need to go take a shower, guys. I feel really dirty.
I didn't know if you meant that in a good way or a bad way.
It's a bad way in that it brings up all this like societal commentary that you're just sort of forced to deal with, because the adult film industry, the pornography industry, the plight of sex workers around the world is a very real thing. And this movie doesn't really go out of its way to like make any sort of like stance too much on it. Which I think is fine, because it's like executed onto such like a high degree of expertise that you come out of it like appreciating it as the piece of art that it is, and you can bring your own feelings to it, which all good art should do that. And so I think this one lives up to that. So I give it an A, and I'm going to go wash my vagina.
We didn't even talk about the one cast member that everybody talked about in this film, which is his giant prosthetic dong that whips out at the end of the movie, which is like
his silent partner.
You finally, this whole
now
thing
decomposing Wang.
Yeah, I saw that. It was made out of like this like very light latex or something, and it's like dissolving in his house.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg took it home. He's got it like,
what?
Yeah,
as a souvenir from the film, Mark Wahlberg took his prosthetic dong. And kept it.
And the little thing they want to keep from their movie.
Yeah,
get a little keepsake.
It's like one of those experiments where they take like a Big Mac and they put it under glass and like check in on it every 10 years to see how far it's decomposed. So somewhere in Mark Wahlberg's estate is a glass case with the Dirk Diggler. Yeah,
Dirk Diggler. I remember that being such a controversial thing when it came out. Like, that end scene where he, is pumping himself up, and he kind of finds himself again. And you're like, I don't know, do we have to whip that out? I guess. I mean, you hear about
we paid for it.
The whole movie. It's a whole. Yeah. So it's kind of funny.
I think it was very purposeful that at the very last second they show you.
Yeah.
Dick. You're like, they've been talking about the whole time. And
I mean, it's literally the whole reason for the entire movie.
I love the awards show where he wins like best cock.
Jesus Christ. All right, what are we doing next week on Rabbit Fighters? I think it's Brian's turn.
Yeah, it's not my pick.
Is it not?
No,
I think so.
I think
Brian's like, oh shit.
Nope, I had this planned out. I did. And this was on our list, and it is truly baffling to me that someone of the three of us has not seen this movie, because it's I'm going to stay in the 90s.
Ooh,
it's another 90s hit. And to give you a little bit of a hint, we had a warning here of one landing today, and that's why I'm in the basement.
Oh,
can you guess what it is?
Is it cicadas?
Is it a Twister? Is Bill Paxton making an arrival?
Twister,
yeah. I've never seen Twister. Yeah,
Dorothy,
I've never seen it.
She's here. Yeah, we're gonna watch Twister because they're making another one, or they're making a sequel of it. Plus, I'm keeping the film, like the Philip Seymour Hoffman thread running in this. And
Food.
Is he in Twister?
He is.
Food. How did you miss Twister? It was literally
I deliberately
nonstop.
I deliberately missed Twister. I didn't see it at the theater on purpose because I was like, "This looks dumb."
We're gonna talk about Van Halen in that episode. Oh, I can't wait.
I also am so tired
Carrie
of Van
Elwes
Halen. So if they're in there in some way
as the bad guy, Storm Tracer, Helen Hunt,
in her heyday.
I'm excited to rewatch Twister and just
we'll save that for next week.
Yeah,
they're popcorn films. So,
twist.
It's a twist. It's a twist.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week.
There's a flying cow in it. keep kicking ass, if you guys keep kicking ass,